Lithe music crowned King Melchior's halls, flames lit the ballroom, and the merriment of the many guests filled it with joy. Outside the heavenscape windows, winter had begun its first snowflake, but none of winter's bite could be found inside. Old King Melchior, with his dangling beard and silver hairs, watched over the proceedings with his usual sly smile. The seat beside the king was empty, for his wife had retired to their chambers almost as soon as the party had begun. Lady Gwenore was 7 months pregnant and swollen as a gourd. Therefore no one questioned her absence, not the courtiers, the noble knights, or King Melchior himself. Nor did anyone question Elliaud's quiet return to the festivities. No one would suspect the most upright, most chivalrous, and most devout man of the king's knights to be sleeping with the ruler's lovely young bride. At last, King Melchior announced with surprising vigor. Jumping to his feet, he clapped his hands twice, and the music and merriment faded as a crowd assembled at the edges of the high table. Now that all my noble knights are assembled, brought from their estates across my kingdom, I shall make this announcement for all to hear. Quiet confusion rippled through the crowd. I have lied as to the reasoning for this midwinter ball. While my bride's pregnancy is worthy of celebration, something grander has occurred. Bernard, tell them of your vision. Your Majesty, bowed a short and stringy friar. Shuffling up to the front, brown-robed, head-shaved and all, the man took one meaningful look around the room. Go on, someone said. Brothers and sisters, Bernard said, the Father has seen fit to grant me a miracle, a vision. He paused for dramatic effect. The Spear of Longinus has returned. In my vision, the Father assured me that whichever kingdom retained the Spear of Destiny shall become favored in the eyes of heaven. And did God reveal the location of the spear? Elliaud asked, stepping from the crowd. Several others echoed his question. Bernard raised his hands. Verily, Sir Elliaud, it lies with a witch to the west. She waits at the peak of a lonely mountain with a cow that bears no milk. You cannot miss it, for this mountain lies between 2 great rivers and stands tall above its sisters. As for the witch, she is as old as the earth and is sustained on nothing more than grace. Bowing his head to the king, Bernard slipped back into the crowd and to his ever-brimming cup of wine. Now you shall understand my designs, said the old king. This is no ball, but a feast before an arduous journey. You have all been assembled to see my most noble knights off on their quest to retrieve the Spear of Longinus. Tomorrow all 7 of you faithful knights shall depart. He who brings back the spear first shall have anything they want, short of my crown. Do not fail me. After the rousing words, the party resumed, and sooner than expected all had turned in for a night's sleep, with trembles of destiny running through their bodies. Elliaud tried to go to his mistress and say his farewells, but the only chance he got was a wave as he departed on his dusky courser. Holding her belly with one hand, Lady Gwenore smiled at the departing knights from beside her husband. Looking upon Elliaud, she mouthed, "Come back safely, my love." Thumping his chest, Elliaud rode westward with the other knights. At first, King Melchior's knights thought the journey to be one of ease, travelling from quaint township to township, sleeping in midway inns, taverns, and on the floors of peasant homes, until the wilds claimed the earth and civilization ended. Nights turned to fireside chats under starry heavens, and the land turned to treacherous paths. The knights faced their first round of setbacks in a pass of unending fog. 2 of their ranks fell into chasms where the light hadn't tread since the dawn of creation. Then, once over the pass, they lost more in a field of statues. Elliaud realized that these were travelers turned by a Medusa. By the time he gave the orders to lift the shiniest parts of their helmets above their faces, 2 more knights were already cracking into their eternal stone state. Escaping the Medusa's lair, the remaining 3 knights sighed with relief when they came upon a sprawling plain. Endless fields of gold wheat swayed in the breeze like the ocean waves of home. A city could be seen, smoke curling from its inviting hearths. In the distance, a single mountain rose as a monolith amongst its short and hunched siblings. Snow-cap lining each one. There it is, Sir Girardin breathed. Dark lines rimmed his eyes, lit by a renewed passion. Let us go right away. Do not be hasty, Sir Reynard said. Scaling a mountain is no small feat, and we could use more supplies, not to mention a proper long rest. Girardin looked to Elliaud. What say you? Pressing a tongue into The side of his cheek, Elliaud mulled it over. One part of him wanted nothing more than to go and retrieve the spear. He already knew what he would ask for, and it was a prize for which he could never wait. Yet there was wisdom to Sir Renat's counsel. "What's one more day? We go to the city. After all, you need a bath, Sir Girardin." "As you say," Sir Girardin said, urging his courser to follow after the pair. Any amount of displeasure at their detour turned to eagerness at the thought of proper food. However, those feelings soon turned to dread as they realized the smoke was not from welcoming hearths and happy fires. The city burned with the flames of war. Green banners with black stripes rippled from the turrets of the city's central tower. In the distance, racing towards the mountain, a small contingent of horsemen thundered across the golden plains. Friar Bernard wasn't the only one to have received a vision. "Ride! We need to get the spear," Elliaud roared. "We can't just go," Sir Renat balked. "I can hear the women and children. We're knights of the realm." "And to our king we are sworn," Sir Girardin spat. "First to the Lord, and second to the people," Sir Renat countered. "With his life a knight of the court shall defend the defenseless." "Don't lecture me with our oaths," Sir Girardin said. "If we retrieve the spear, the defenseless who will be helped shall outweigh. The few you shall save with your life." "If is the magic word," Sir Renat said. "Blood and ashes," Sir Girardin said, racing off on his steed. "I shall have none of your foolishness. It is a miracle you ever lived this long." Renat watched the man go. "At least I will always have my virtue intact. What of you, Sir Elliaud?" "You're little more than a boy," Elliaud said, "but you have every right to make a man's choices. Just realize one does not get to our age through blind valor alone. If these barbarians get a hold of the Spear of Destiny, then this city will only be the beginning. I am afraid I must ride with Sir Girardin." Turning away, Elliaud paused, untethering his coin purse and handing it to the knight. "Use this as you see fit. Lord have mercy." Elliaud spurred his steed into a gallop, never once taking a look back. By the time he pulled alongside Girardin, the sun had already set and released the evening's chill. Breath billowed in steaming clouds from the mouths of their horses. "They're making camp," Sir Girardin said, nodding toward the distant campfires and white canvas tents. "Then we continue. By dawn we will have the spear in hand." Girardin laughed. It sounded sharp and caustic. "What? And brave those slopes in the dark? Nay, we slit their throats while they sleep." Elliaud's brow furrowed and his eyebrows scrunched tight. "Don't. Give me that look," Sir Girardin said. "There are 8 by my count. We can do this easily." "I don't deny that," Elliaud said, "but it's not our way." "Don't give me that excuse. Would you also make us fight with one hand behind our backs in the name of chivalry and virtue?" Elliaud opened his mouth to speak, but Girardin kept on talking. "You haven't a leg to stand on, Sir Elliaud. I know about your mistress, and unless you want me to tell the king, you will help me kill them in their sleep." Elliaud's hands balled into fists. He tried to swallow, but the air was paper dry. Exhaling, his breath misted the air, carrying almost as much weight as the guilt over his soul. When the moon's silvery light had caressed the earth for hours on end, they drew their blades and did the deed. At dawn, frost covered every blade, of grass except those nourished in blood. By then, Sir Girardin and Elliaud were already climbing the lonely mountain. Much like the beginning of their journey, the way started in ease, growing more difficult as time went, until they gave up their armor and weapons to better climb the steep mountain. Another night passed in which they slept on a cliff ledge, huddled in blankets with a bucket of heated coals to warm them. The next morning, a heavy mist clung to the mountain like a dragon's breath. "You're the better climber," Sir Girardin grunted, suggesting Elliaud go first and tie off the ropes. "More like you're a coward," Elliaud said under his breath, wearily scaling the mountainside, the heavy rope firmly tied about his waist. After half a day of climbing, Elliaud reached a ledge untouched by the winter's rain. He sighed as the sun broke the mist and warmed him to the bones. Birds sang on the small perch of paradise, and several roses, red and white, grew on a small field of moss and grass. Cross-legged sat a woman so old that a touch of wind might break her. "I've made it," Elliaud said, tying off the rope without a second thought. "That is the Spear of Destiny?" Beside the witch, impaled in stone, was a long spear of gold and silver. "Another pilgrim arrives. Welcome." "There have been others?" "Many come, but none have been worthy." Perhaps you are the one to draw the spear that pierced the Christ." Elliaud took a step when his companion's voice rose from the misty veils below. "Hurry up, Elliaud. Have you anchored the rope yet?" "That stump is old and brittle," said the witch. Elliaud licked his lips, glancing at the anchor point, thinking, "Girardin knows about me and Lady Gwenore. You have the power of vision. Will the stump break if my companion puts his weight on it?" The witch narrowed her eyes. "Because others call me a witch does not make it so. I do not consult the unseen possibilities of my own volition. I accept what he gives me when he gives it to me." She looked again at the stump. "What I have told you is an observation." Elliaud tapped the stump. Bark and woody fragments crumbled at the touch. He shrugged. "Seems solid. I haven't the gift of foresight. Thus what blame can be liable for?" Tugging the rope, he gave his companion the sign to climb. Seconds later, a cry sounded, fading almost as soon as it started. Walking up to the lance, Elliaud reached out for the spear but stopped short. "Is this it? No tricks? Just pull it from the stone, and I'm free to go?" The witch nodded. "If you can take it, then it is yours." Grasping the haft, Elliaud pulled, strained, and even cursed, but no matter how he struggled, he could not so much as budge the artifact. After hours of trying, he gave up, slumping against the supernaturally sheathed weapon. "You are unworthy," the witch said, almost sad and forlorn. "What do I do now?" Elliaud sat in silence, his back against the cold stone that held the spear. The afternoon light waned, shadows lengthening across the tiny ledge. His mind raced through his failures, the lost nights, his mistress, and now this. His hands ached from the effort of trying to free the spear, and his heart ached from the weight of his choices. "What does it mean to be worthy?" he asked. Finally, his voice hollow. The witch tilted her head, her withered hands resting on her knees. "That is not for me to answer, child. Worthiness is a question only your soul can address. Why did you come here? What did you hope to gain?" "I wanted—" Elliaud hesitated, unsure of how much truth he could bear to speak aloud. "I wanted to win the king's favor, to have something no one else could take from me." "Even her?" the witch asked, her voice soft but piercing. Elliaud's jaw tightened. The silence between them stretched until the witch spoke again. "You have come this far, but you cannot take what you are not ready to hold. Go home." "Give up," Elliaud hissed, his desperation bleeding through. "I am a knight of the realm. I can never do such a thing. There must be something you want. Tell it to me, and I shall give it to you." The witch shook her head. "There is nothing you or any mere human can give me. I am commanded to wait here until the spear has been retrieved." "Then help me to help you," Elliaud said, now pleading on hands and knees. The witch observed him for some time before speaking. Her voice was soft, tender. "I do not know the answer, but if it were me, I'd begin with a confession." "To who?" "You, the Lord. You have done nothing to transgress against me, and the Lord already knows what it is you have done." Elliaud's mind raced, and he shook his head. "Nay, I cannot do this. He would have me flayed, hung from hooks, burned in an iron coffin. It was she who approached me first, she who seduced me. I think you know what you must do." By the time Elliaud had returned to the king's castle, he had resolved to do as the witch suggested. Not for any sense of fortitude, but rather for ill-placed love. He could no more bear life without Lady Gwenore than the sun could refuse to rise. The only way to truly love his mistress would be with the pardon that could only come with the delivery of the spear. Thus, Elliaud strode into King Melicor's throne room, sick to his stomach with every chime from the cathedral, the bells still, ringing to herald his return. Melicor and his bride sat patient on their gilded thrones, at the center of the full chamber. Elliaud bowed. "Sir Elliaud," thundered the old king, "you have returned victorious, no doubt. Tonight you shall regale us with the tales of your journey, but for now I would like to hold the Spear of Longinus. Where is it?" "Forgive me," Elliaud mouthed to Lady Gwenore. She tilted her head, one hand never leaving her belly. Falling to the ground, Elliaud confessed to everything. He spoke of his affair, leaving Sir Elliaud to help the innocent on his own, and of betraying Sir Girardin to protect his secret and retrieve the spear first. Shocked whispers ran through the room like untamed rivers, silenced only at the old king's command. The room became quieter than death. Elliaud didn't dare raise his head, not even at the sound of the old king's footsteps. Prodding his scepter under Elliaud's chin, King Melicor lifted the man's head. To Elliaud's surprise, amidst the old man's fury was something soft and wise. "Milord?" Elliaud started. "You have done so much evil," Melicor said, "and yet I am old enough to know that I would be a hypocrite to not admit it isn't. Even a quarter of the darkness I have committed. Are you going to kill me?" Elliaud asked. The old king balked, eyes wide, almost in surprise. "Heavens, no. For these things we are reconciled. As for your penance, you shall go back and bring me the spear and do no more evil." Sounds of surprise rippled from the crowd, and even Lady Gwenore seemed to nearly faint. But King Melicor didn't care. Kneeling, he spoke in hushed tones that only Elliaud could hear. "I am an old man, and my wife is barely a lady. Do not think me blind to her needs or desires. I expected more from you, but a bear does not always resist honey. Regardless," Melicor glanced back at her full belly, "my wife bears an offspring. I would prefer that it was mine, but it does not matter so long as the child carries my name. Return the spear, and you may have her hand after she gives. Perth, the child shall be mine and she shall be yours. Do we have an agreement?" "Your mercy is without understanding," Elliaud said. "Of course we have a deal, but why not punish me?" "Because you have done what many men, even myself, could never do. You have brought your darkness into the light for all to see," King Melicor said. Rising, he walked out of the room, leaving Elliaud on his knees. No one knows if Elliaud ever did retrieve the spear, but one thing is for certain: King Melicor's final years were the most prosperous in all his time. As for Elliaud, after his second return, he disappeared without a whisper to the countryside, with his new bride in hand. He never picked up a sword again.